This is Dave Parrish at Knack Builders, doing another series of videos to explain some functionality of Knack. This one's going to be a pretty short one, but it's something that topic I found that I needed to resolve, and with the help of Knack support I was able to do this. It's actually very simple but useful. In this case, what I want to do is find the latest date in a series of dates. To put it in context, let's say we have an invoice with several line items, and we want to be able to look at all those line items that have dates on each, find the latest one, and capture that. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. Be right back. Thank you. Okay, I'm back, and let's jump into this topic, how to find the latest date in a series of dates. I'm going to show you this app here briefly. So it's a project we're building still. It's fake date in it, but let's take a look. Here's a bunch of invoices. Let's call up one of these invoices as a sample. We have an invoice, and in this case, two line items. One's dated the 5th or 5/16, one's dated 6/13, and we could have as many of these line items as we want. For us to submit this invoice to our payer, which is a government organization, they require that the date, they call it the request date for this money, be the last date of the last service line item plus 1 day. So obviously to do that, we need to be able to scan all these items, find the last one. That's the challenge. And then you can do an equation to add one more day to that. Here's how the data is set up. We'll go to our data. We have invoices, which you create an invoice just like QuickBooks. And then to that invoice, we're adding service line items. Each one is a different service that's done on different days and has various rates to it that are added up, and that's the cost of the price of the invoice. So we're going to start with our main object, invoice, and as most of you are familiar with Knack, Knack has functions up here under number, sum, average, min, max, count. These you can create a field, and these will then go look at other items in a related object and apply that function to them. In this case, it doesn't work for dates. All these would be looking at actual numbers. So how do you look at a date? Well, here's how you do that. We're going to take a date, turn that into a number. And I'm going to explain that and tell you what it's actually doing. Create an equation, date to number. So we have a date right here. We want to know number of days, or a date type that we're going to turn into days, and then it's going to result in a number. All we got to do is put in the date. It's going to change it to a number. Now what it's doing, if you know anything about software and dates, it's turning that date, or converting that date based on a Unix time, which Unix time in software is January 1st, 1970. I have no idea why, actually, but you run into that a lot when you're doing date calculations. So what it's going to do is look at January 1st, 1970, and it's going to look at your date, and it's going to say how many days is that span. It's going to give you a number, so that's useful to do various calculations on. So in this case, look at our actual records. I'm going to pick the client. We have a date here, 9/13/19, and that is 18,152. That is the number of days since January 1st, 1970. So, since we have the number here, we can then go back to the invoice and apply the max calculation to look at all the line items from that invoice. It's going to now span those that are related, find the largest one, and give you back that number, which we have right here, date to number, and then we have that equation that or finds the max. Then we have it turning the max back into a date, and then to get that one date in addition to the actual date, we have a calculation to add one date to it. And I'm going to show you how that works right here. Remember our invoice? The last date is 6/13. So based on our calculations, we want to scan if it wants to come back with 6/13, and then we want to add one more day to it for our payer who requires it to be one day after. So we're looking for the date of 6/14. And I'm going to pop into where that appears. Right here. Request date 6/14. It's all done automatically, so we don't have to hunt around and enter it manually. That's pretty much it. I'm going to sum that up. So you're going to take a date, and you're going to convert it into a number, which is the Unix days. You're then going to apply the max function to it, so it can span or scan all the dates and see which one is the latest, and in this case it's scanning those numbers. And you can do the opposite, by the way. If you need to find the minimum or anything average, you can do that too. It will result in the highest number, and then you just simply convert that date or that number back to a date, and you have what you need. Appreciate it. That's all I have for today, and thank you.